Hello everyone, Dimitri here. Today I'll be making a video about elemental damage and status chance. Alright, so a lot of people in my stream lately have been asking, what is the difference between elemental damage and status chance? Elemental damage is actual damage that is applied on every single shot. As you can see in the video, my Burst and Prime has 952 corrosive damage on it, and it means that every single shot I fire will do an extra 952 corrosive damage. Status chance, however, is the percentage chance of applying an additional effect. Every element has an additional effect that it can apply, and I'll be going over it at all the different kinds later on in the video. The thing you need to remember about elemental damage is that every enemy in the game has different elemental vulnerabilities and resistances. For example, this corrupted crewman, an enemy commonly found in the void, is very weak against magnetic damage, as indicated by the 3+ signs. Every enemy has these type of resistances and vulnerabilities, and I would highly suggest you check out the codex if you want to know which enemy is resistant to what. Alternatively, you can check out the Warframe wiki and find all of the resistant tables in there. I will post a link in the description and you can check it out for yourself. Now I'll be going over the different types of effects that can be triggered by different elements. First up is Impact. Impact status effect is a knockback, causing enemies to briefly stagger. Slash damage causes a bleeding effect over the next 6 seconds, which ignores resistances, armor and shields. Puncture damage causes the enemies to be weakened, inflicting 30% less damage over 6 seconds. Next up are the 4 primary elemental types. Cold applies the freeze effect, slowing enemy movement and attack speed down by 50% for 6 seconds. Electric damage causes a chain lightning effect, dealing damage to enemies within 5 meters and briefly stunning them. Heat damage applies a damage over time effect and causes enemies to panic and flail around for a brief period of time. Toxin damage applies a damage over time effect that lasts 8 seconds. Multiple instances of the toxic debuff can stack for increased damage over time. The gas status effect is Poison Cloud, which applies the toxin poison effect to all enemies within 5 meters. Blast damage applies an explosive knockdown effect to all enemies within 5 meters. Please note that the knockdown itself does no damage. Corrosive damage causes corrosion, an effect which permanently decreases the target's current armor by 25%. This can be applied to the same target multiple times, making it very valuable against heavily armored units. Radiation causes the confusion status effect. Affected enemies will target and will be targeted by their allies for 12 seconds. Magnetic damage causes disruption, which reduces the target's shields by 75% for 4 seconds. If a second magnetic effect is applied while the first one is still active, their shields will again be reduced by 75%, and this reduction remains permanent. Viral damage applies the virus effect, which reduces a target's maximum health to 50% for 6 seconds. There can be only one application of virus per enemy at a time, and if the enemy is below 50% health, virus will not trigger. Something to remember when modding weapons for elemental damage are the elemental combos. The first 2 elements form a pair, creating one of 6 secondary elements. This order goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The order you put your elemental mods in is very important, as this will dictate which elemental combos form. In the example shown, I create corrosive damage by mixing electric and toxic damage together. If I add in heat damage afterwards, it will remain corrosive plus heat. In this example, I'm using a weapon with innate cold damage, which changes things up a bit. The rules for pairs still apply, but the cold damage from the Galaxian will mix with the last remaining element, in this case heat, to form blast damage. And finally, there are weapons that come with innate secondary elemental damage, in the Ogress's case, blast. Unlike the other weapons, these weapons do not care that you mix elements, and I can apply viral damage to my Ugress even though the cold damage would normally go on the blast damage. Now, the last question I usually get on my stream is, when do I use 90% elemental mods in my builds, and when do I use 60% elemental mods? A good rule of thumb is whenever a weapon has 20% base status chance or higher, go with 60% mods. If not, go with the 90% mods. But, to be very honest, it depends on the weapon and personal preference. Do you like status chance more, or prefer raw damage? Do I want to form with this weapon once or twice more to fit that 90% mod in, or do I go lazy mode and use the 60% mods for now? It's up to you. Anyway guys, that is going to be the end of this video. If you have any other questions or suggestions, I'd be happy to hear them in the comments below or visit my stream over at twitch.tv/DimitriV2. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.